At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Building a portfolio with Fidelity Basket Portfolios is kind of like making a sandwich. It's as simple as picking your stocks and ETFs, sort of like your meats and other toppings, and managing it as one big, juicy investment. Now that's pretty good. Learn more at fidelity.com/baskets. Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. Member NYSE SIPC.
Welcome back, faithful fans. This is another episode of the Every Pokemon Episode Ever podcast. We're back, y'all. I am one of your hosts this week, Professor Chris G, and on the other line with me is the man that returned home a few hours ago. It's good old Dougie Fresh. Dougie, my man, how you doing?
And boy, are my arms tired.
But we're back. We took a little bit of a little impromptu hiatus. I know we kind of take it around this time every year, but this time it was kind of impromptu because we just had shit going on that just happened to fall within these past few weeks.
Yeah, we weren't even trying for it.
No, we weren't. But we are back. We are swinging, and so I guess we can kind of, I'm just gonna flat out say it on this podcast. Everyone, you will be getting the Pokemon audio drama. It's probably not landing in the middle of July like I was hoping for. Where we are putting some fine touches on this project and making sure that it's all good and ready to go. We have a lot of episodes ready for you, but we are not releasing it until everything for the entire 14 chapters is fine-tuned and everything for you. So as soon as everything is fine-tuned, we will give you an update on it. But it is coming, and you are going to love it. But we are here this week, and I'm going to get the party started on this podcast for today. But we have 2 new episodes that we're getting ready to go over. Doug, are you excited for these?
Yes, especially because it's been a minute since I watched them, because we didn't really know what was going on.
Yes, we wasn't sure when we were going to be recording again. So, all right. So today's episodes, I have them up right here. The first episode that we are going over is episode 9, Welcome to Paldea, or translated from Japanese, Arrival in Paldea. And then we have episode 10, Nemona and Brassius, or Nemona and Brassius and then ... or translated from Japanese with Nemo and Colza is the translation from Japanese for that one. And we are getting ready to dive right into this first episode. Are you ready? Are you ready, bro, to go over some of this first episode?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So let's go ahead and get on ready, and we will start. Welcome to Paldea. We start off with Dot noticing that her suit kind of smells bad, and Quaxley is over here. It's like, you need to wash that thing. Ew, babio, ew. And it's so bad that freaking Dot takes a sniff of it. She's like, oh, it's not that bad. Sniff. Ugh. And she just faints.
And you know it's bad when your own BO knocks yourself out.
Yes. So Dot kind of falls right down, and then we realize that we are getting ready to land in Paldea, and Liko is like, oh man, it's so cool to be back here in Paldea. Sprigatito, this is the first time me and you have even been to Paldea together.
It hasn't been that long since I was last here, but for some reason it feels nostalgic. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right, Sprigatito. Welcome home. We've never been here together.
And then also during this scene, we have Molly and Orla. They're talking about going shopping for some food because they need some food on the ship. And then Freed offers to take Liko back home. And as they are talking, Liko finally gets into her head, and she's like, oh, maybe this is it.
Let's go over the plan together before we all head out.
Okay, so the two of you are gonna stock up on supplies.
And while Orla and I are doing that, Freed's gonna be taking Liko home, right?
Gonna be lonely here.
Well, we knew the deal when we took the job.
Freed, take good care of Liko, okay?
You know it.
Is that right? Of course it is. This means my journey it's over.
And we go straight into Freed and Liko start on their journey back to Liko's home. And Roy comes storming off of the ship as well. And he's like, oh, I'm ready. I've never been to Paldea. I'm so ready to go see all these Pokemon and all these new Pokemon. And long behold, they see Dot through her window very briefly, and then it's off to Paldea, and they're in the middle of the city. And the first thing that they come across is a Cyclizar rider, and that's one of the new Paldean Pokemon over in this region. And
that trips me up. That I understand, and I don't mean to cut you off, but that trips me up every time because we've seen it a couple times already.
Yes.
I was like, that's a fucking motorcycle Pokemon. I'll be dipped.
I know he's fucking cool, isn't he? And Roy is like, oh, I'm so sorry. And the rider's like, you should really watch where you're going. And Roy's like, yeah, maybe I should. I mean, Roy's never been out of his little island in the Indigo region, so this is all new to him. He's never seen any of this before.
Well, Roy's just got straight up like friggin' main character syndrome. Like, if we're going on an adventure, I've got to go, and I'm gonna shoehorn my way into this. And he basically brute forced his way onto the ship to begin with.
Yeah,
homeboy just needs to take a break.
So they go and they start checking out a whole ton of stores, and then Freed tries to call Liko's mother, but guess what? She doesn't answer.
We go back to the ship and we see that Dot is airing out her costume. We've got a brief interaction between Ludlow and Dot because she's up in that area, so she was just kind of figuring she was going to check on him. Molly and Orla, they're kind of scoping out a little shop and just kind of talking about how it must be kind of weird for them to just kind of all be descending on this little town with this big ass ship.
Yeah, and then we move over to where Roy and Freed, they arrive at Liko's house.
Yes, and it's this fucking
massive house.
I was gonna call it a mansion, but it's not quite a mansion. But it's bigger than you would think in a town like that.
That's a mass. It's like a mansion. It looks like a mansion.
It's on the border. I mean, it's bigger than my house. I'll tell you that much for free, and that's not saying much.
Bigger than mine too.
Yeah, I think it's bigger than if we were to combine our houses. I think it would be close. But.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's this big building, and it's kind of isolated. it's got like this cobblestone walkway. It's multicolored, which is a little kind of eh. Maybe I'm just kind of looking for one uniform color, but maybe that's just me.
I'm the same way. Well, it kind of is. It has a brick part for the front part of the house, and then the rest of the house is just yellow and blue with a red roof.
Oh yeah, I guess that is brick. I guess I just glanced at it and assumed it was pink. I guess that is just brick. Okay. I retract my criticism for now.
So Fido ends up greeting Liko right at the door. And then Alex is there to greet them too. And once inside, and Alex is the father, everybody.
Oh, welcome home, Liko!
Stop!
Oh yeah, almost forgot. Oh, hello there. Thank you so much for all of your help.
Name's Freed. Nice to finally meet you.
My name's Roy. This is Coco.
And I'm Liko's father, Alex. I want to thank you for looking after our daughter and bringing her home.
That means the job is done, right?
So Alex learns that Liko is a part of the rising vote tacklers from Roy. Freed is wanting to change the subject, quickly points out the dad's portrait of Arcanine and Rapidash, which is a pretty cool portrait.
Yeah, those are pretty nice looking paintings.
Yep. And we find out that her dad is an artist and likes to draw and has a full-blown picture book. And then Liko is like, where's my mom? And the dad's like, yeah, well, you know what? She's busy and won't be coming home today. And Liko decides to head up to her room with an unamused Sprigatito. So Sprigatito starts getting in her feelings while being at this house. And what would you say in regards to Sprigatito kind of getting moody at the house?
I kind of think that, and just kind of letting it play as we're talking, I kind of think, not kind of, I 100% think that Sprigatito is going off the vibes that Liko's putting out. Because, like, we see Liko, like, walking up the stairs, and she's kind of got the same look that Sprigatito has, and Sprigatito's like... And we also had a really brief moment of Sprigatito kind of sniffing the air before they, like, got to the house. So I think even before Liko started kind of feeling bleh, I think Sprigatito's like, I don't know about this place. I don't know if it passes the vibe check. And, I mean, you can clearly see that.
I think that might have a lot to do with maybe jealousy for Fido, because if you notice, Fido walks up with Liko, and when Fido and Sprigatito meet, Fido likes Sprigatito, but Sprigatito's like, I'm Liko's Pokemon, not you.
Well,
you think that could be?
That's very true, and I think you could also chalk that up to just like typical dog cat behavior.
Yeah.
Because if I'm put it this way, if I'm walking, I'm more apt to walk past a house and get barked at than I am to walk past a house and get meowed at.
Yeah. You're not wrong there.
I mean, that's not to say that a cat can't come out the freaking flap there and get me, but I think I could take a cat more than I could take a dog. I mean, I hope it doesn't ever come to that, but you know, cats are more apt to be kind of like, leave me alone, like I'll tell you when I want attention, whereas dogs are like, oh my god, it's a new person.
Yep.
Or in Fido's case, it's like, oh my god, how long has it been since I've seen you?
So we head from, so as we stated before, so Liko goes up to her room. Fido kind of follows her, and Fido is like, oh, I'm up here every day. I'm gonna go back downstairs. So but Liko notices that Sprigatito is not with her, and she's like, oh. And she looks out her window, seeing Sprigatito's shadow on the roof. And then we have a major plot in this episode. So Alex and Freed start talking about Liko. And Liko comes around the corner and she kind of listens in on the conversation. And Alex is telling Freed how much he worries about Liko and that he was thinking about letting her commute to school from Paldea, so kind of remotely. And Liko accidentally hits her nose on the open window, causing Freeze and Alex to like kind of jump for a second. And Liko enters in through the window all awkwardly. And having heard what they said, and she says that she's still looking for Sprigatito. Liko is starting to follow Sprigatito's scent around the house, looking on top of shelves, and wants to head back to the ship for the night. And her dad's like, "Oh, well, you just got here. Don't you want to stay?" And she's like, "No, I'm going to head on back." And she's like, "I need to go and find Sprigatito." But let's see. Trying to get Sprigatito to come with her, but the grass cat Pokemon refuses. And she offers to let Sprigatito stay at the house for the night, and Sprigatito accepts. So what do you think about that, Doug?
Yeah, I don't, because like you have a moment because they find Sprigatito on top of that cabinet, right?
Yep.
And Sprigatito specifically has her back to them as they're discussing her. And as soon as we see Sprigatito kind of open her eye and is kind of like, are they still down there? Are they still looking at me? Who should come bounding up to Liko but Fido? And I think it's more subliminal because it's like, and to be fair, I think it goes beyond cats and dogs. It's just like,
I think it's jealousy, bro.
Like
I really think that Sprigatito's like, I'm the new Pokemon, but I'm not getting any love here, so I'm just gonna sit here because she's not listening. Because I mean, at one point that I didn't even put out there was how firm Sprigatito was to just saying, I'm not going with you, because Liko brought out her Pokeball and she's like, Sprigatito, let's go. And Sprigatito's like, nah,
I'm good.
Yep. And I kind of feel for Sprigatito a little bit because, again, I mean, but Sprigatito needs to learn maybe kind of how Pikachu had to learn with Ash in regards to other Pokemon being brought into the party. But Sprigatito's not going to be Liko's only Pokemon. And Sprigatito needs to learn that, but Sprigatito's still a baby.
I sure as heck hope it's not just Sprigatito.
Oh no! Oh no! There's going to be more Pokemon.
I was just, for whatever reason, I was just randomly thinking about that today. I was on my walk, and because we discussed that we were going to record today, so I was just kind of thinking about the episodes, and I was like, I don't even know if Liko has shown interest in other Pokemon. I mean, a couple episodes back, Roy had that battle with that Pidgey, but he didn't catch it. So, like, and I'm like, well, she's not going to Leroy Jenkins this and run it just with her and Sprigatito. That'd be silly.
Yeah. So, this next scene is pretty prominent. Liko, Roy, and Freeze start heading back to the ship. And Liko is kind of feeling a bit like down and out. And then when she returns back to the ship, she immediately thinks, she's like, I'm home. And it slips out of her mouth, and Liko kind of notices. And then we go back to her dad, who is having trouble with their painting before getting an idea. And the camera kind of pans over, and Fido and Sprigatito are huddled up together next to Liko's pillow. So, and
they're both trying to get their scent on it. It kind of feels like,
yeah, just a little bit. But Fido kind of brings the pillow over, and Sprigatito is like, I don't like you, Fido. And Fido is like, well, I like you, and I want you to be my friend. And Sprigatito and Fido just end up sleeping next to each other, which is pretty cool. I mean, I liked it because it shows that, because not only were they like not all cool and comfy with each other right at the jump, but in the middle of this episode, it didn't even take that long. We're literally in the middle of the episode and they're friends. So I liked it. It's a touching moment.
Well, I was just concerned, watching the episode for the first time a couple weeks ago or whatever it was. I was like, is this going to be the entire B plot where it's going to be like, okay, by the end of this 20 minutes or whatever, Sprigatito and Fido need to be on the same page. And they're like, no, we're going to have that resolved by the time we get to the act break.
Yep.
I was like, okay.
So, but it's now morning, and Liko could hardly sleep over how conflicted she feels about being on the ship and being back at home. And when Liko leaves her room, she finds a drawing of her hugging Sprigatito on the ship. And Liko goes over to Molly and Orla, having smelled the coffee they got from one of the stores the other day. Liko remarks, she's like, oh man, that smells like coffee, like the coffee that her father drinks. And Liko is like, yeah, she would never know how worried her dad was about her going out on her own.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, I know that smell.
It's a coffee I found in the shopping district.
I'm pretty sure that's the same kind of coffee my dad always drinks.
Oh, so are you and your dad really close, Liko?
Not really. I just learned yesterday that he's been really worried about me. I had no idea. And now that I know that,
You know it's important that you do what you want to also.
Ever since I told everyone I wanted to learn more about my pendant and asked for their help, I knew. And it hasn't changed. What I want to do.
Let's see. So we have Roy. Roy meets up with Liko. And he's telling Liko, hey, I noticed the other day when we were over at your home that Sprigatito seemed to be a little jealous of Fido and of how much attention it was getting from you, and that you could have been clouding it in your own thoughts. And Liko was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. And she's like, oh man. And she starts running off the ship and starts heading back to her house. And it's at this point that she heads over to Dot's door to thank her for the drawing before asking Orla and Molly for a favor. And when Liko runs outside, she briefly notices what looks like a Needle Thing costume hanging on top of the ship before quickly refocusing on what is really important at this time. And we jump back over to her home, and Alex notices that Sprigatito is not with Fido anymore, but she is outside waiting for Liko to come back home. And Liko goes to the shop that Molly and Orla went to, getting the coffee for her father, getting the coffee that her father likes. And what was that cake called? Was it a matcha? There you go. Thank you, bro. I cannot say that word. It was that cake. And let's see. Liko starts walking over to her house with the food as she crosses path with a lechonk. Oh, do I love a lechonk. And the lechonk goes and steals the food that she got for her dad. And sensing the situation, Sprigatito goes off to find Liko just as Freed arrives to see if she's arrived yet. And Liko is running after the lechonk who stole the food, and the lechonk turns around and runs towards Liko, who jumps around around it each time. Eventually, LeChunk's fast movements make Liko lose her balance, and then she just falls. And then luckily, Sprigatito arrives over there and uses its quick attack on command and at the right moment to drive the LeChunk off, and Liko and Sprigatito happily embrace each other right afterwards. That was a really nice moment, and it shows that even from being far away, that Sprigatito has that sense for her trainer to go back and help her. What did you think about this whole exchange, and what did you think about LeChunk, Doug?
I like the look of LeChunk. Hopefully, I mean, we've got two young trainers. Maybe LeChunk comes back into the fray. Maybe, Roy or Liko can get one. I was a little frustrated because I was like, well, that's clearly a wild Pokemon, and we didn't even get a hint of a Pokeball.
Well, I don't think Liko or Roy have Pokeballs yet.
Well, that's just another thing I can be frustrated about. Like, how hard is it to get a Pokeball around this place?
I don't think it's that hard, but I also think that Freed is not going to openly just give them Pokeballs, because I think Freed's job in this so far is to give them a home, and so they don't have to worry about housing, but letting them grow up on their own and find their own journey and get their own Pokeballs, get their own items. He'll feed them and he'll house them, but that'll be about it.
Wow. That's true, because Charizard basically had to give Fuecoco his Pokeball for Roy to catch him in.
Yep.
So I guess that's true, but I don't know. If I was Roy or Liko, I'd be standing up going, look, it's all well and good to be exploring, but I need to be, maybe not building my arsenal as the primary objective, but, Roy could have had a Pidgey. Liko could have gotten at LeChunk. Meanwhile, she, gets by. Thankfully, Liko had another attack other than Leafage. Freaking ridiculous. But...
It's all good, bro. Get all your feelings out. It's all good. That's what this podcast is for.
But yeah, I just that was a good hit. Let me try to catch it. And maybe it wouldn't catch, but you don't lose a Pokeball just because a Pokemon breaks out of it.
That's true. Well, at least in the TV show, in the video game, you just lose a damn Pokeball.
Yeah, it's gone.
It's like in the video game, you throw that Pokeball, and if it hits that Pokemon and that Pokemon comes out, that ball goes blah. It explodes. It's like you don't get that ball back.
That's shoddy craftsmanship, is all that is.
I think they need to work on that, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, to kind of tie a bow on this episode, so Freed tells Alex about how Liko's always surprising him with each new challenge that she faces since meeting them. And the dad is like, yeah, he knows he didn't really want to admit how fast she is growing up. And Liko just comes in and she walks through the door, and she's like, first of all, she's all dirty, having fallen down, trying to battle that LeChunk. She tells her dad that she has finally decided that what she wants to do. Meeting Sprigatito, Freed, Roy, and all her new friends made her realize what her grandmother's words meant. And Liko gains the confidence to ask her father's permission to keep traveling with the Rising Volt Tacklers. And her dad sees how much of her grandmother's thirst, I can't even get that phrase out, for adventure that Liko has kind of developed here, and asking Sprigatito to keep her safe. And then later on, we get Liko and her dad and Freed hanging out at a coffee table with the coffee that Liko got Alex And that coffee can't be good because that coffee was thrown all around inside of that bag. I'm just saying it. And Liko notices the picture book, and Alex asks her to give it to Roy before stating that Brassius, who is in I think the town is called Artisan, has seen a rare Pokemon which could be the black Rayquaza. And with that info, they're like, okay, so it's now time to go and meet Brassius, to go and question him on this Rayquaza. And we end the episode with a painting that is revealed to be Sprigatito and Fido sleeping together from the night prior. So really good episode.
Really good. They got a lot. They maximized their minutes. You had that plot line of, is it going to be a dog versus cat? No, they're going to be friends by the midpoint. Liko finally grew a bit of a backbone and is like, look, I kind of want to keep traveling with these folks. I'm probably safer with them than I would be by myself, which is fair.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
We didn't meet the mom, but I reckon she'll factor in here at some point.
Oh, will she? Good episode. We'll get into our feelings on that episode in just a moment, because this next episode's not going to take quite as long, I believe.
Because a little peek behind the curtain, it can't take that long.
We'll get into it. But all right, so let's go ahead and we put a bow on that episode, but let's go ahead and get on into this next episode called Nemona and Brassius. And so let's go ahead, and I'm going to queue up for myself the Pokeball.
Love, exciting and new. Hello, Hannah Waddingham here. Have you seen the fabulous new Sun Princess? World-class entertainment, exceptional dining, and the greatest pizza ever. It's
Don't miss our Come Aboard sale with up to 40% off and free room upgrades. Visit princess.com or call your travel advisor to book. Princess Cruises. Terms and restrictions apply. Offer ends 2/28/25. Ships at Bermudan and British Registry.
Lowe's knows that free is just better. That's why MyLowe's Rewards is free to join. As a member, you earn points towards MyLowe's money on eligible purchases, get exclusive free gifts, and earn free shipping at Silver Key status, all on top of weekly member-only deals. Don't wait. Join MyLowe's Rewards for free today and start saving more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
That's a nice little sounding Pokeball. All right. And I'm sorry, everybody. You know what? I want to apologize to our audience. So I've been putting that Pokeball noise in. So think of us, Doug, as like talking like very, very like kind of low. Just enough for that you're able to hear us on the podcast. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you get that Pokeball sound, and it's like 10 times louder than our voices. So people that just have us on like 20 inside of their car, all of a sudden just get like a 50 on their stereo. It's like pop, and I'm like, oh jeez, because I just happened to just be listening to one of our edits in the car the other day to kind of hear what it sounds like when you're driving, and that shit surprised the fuck out of me. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, how else are they supposed to know that we're transitioning episodes? You know, you got to keep on your toes.
Exactly. But all right, so let's go ahead and start on this next episode. So we start this next episode with Liko and Roy, and they are arriving in the city of Artisan. Is it Artisan or is it Artisan? I think it's Artisan.
You know, Artisan. I think it's Artisan personally, but I mean, I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth with you for 10 minutes about it. Because like Artisan, I think is like, like baked goods, whereas artisan would be like sounds more like the name of a place.
Okay, I like that. So they arrive and they're noticing a ton of grass Pokemon, and they end up spotting a couple Sunflora, and they also see a Sunflora sculpture, which all of this is taken straight out of the video game. So this is literally how the town looks in the video game.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And they notice that the Sunflora sculpture is made by Brassius himself. And then we go over and we see Brassius is in a dark room marveling at a giant Rayquaza sculpture, and it's draped in a shadow. And Roy is then asking for ice cream from a vendor and about any signs of the black Rayquaza, but no, nobody's seen it.
No, I mean, it's only been like a minute and a half. Take it easy, you know.
Exactly. And then soon Liko and Roy encounter Nemona. I like this. So Nemona is in the video game. She's your rival.
Ah.
So in the latest Pokemon game, Scarlet and Violet, Nemona is your rival, and she's kind of who you're going back and forth with. And how she is in the anime is exactly how she is in the video game. She loves the battle. So and they did a really good job, and I believe the voice is kind of the same as well. Like, you don't get her really talking. Of course, you have the subtitles in the game, but you get like her like hi or oh, and like the tone of her voice in the game matches the anime, and I love that. So they did a really good job there. So Nemona is using her Pomo to defeat a Skiploom in a Pokemon battle. And then seeing Liko and Roy are trainers too, Nemona challenges them to a battle, but they tell her that they are here to see Brassius.
I lost again! I think we both learned a lot from that. I'll battle you whenever you want.
Thanks, Nemona, you got it! That battle was totally awesome!
Oh, well, aren't you sweet? Thank you. Hey, by any chance, are you a Pokemon trainer? When trainers lock eyes, it means they must battle each other. So let's go! No, wait, that's not why we're here. We've been trying to find somebody. Can you help us? Huh?
We're looking for an artist named Brassius. Any chance you know where he lives?
You're looking for an artist named Brassius? You mean the Brassius?
Nemona then mentions that she has business with Brassius too, and if they want to go over there, that they can go over to Brassius's his art home. So she takes everyone over to Brassius's art home, but says that he's been absent from the gym a lot lately, and we find out that Brassius is in a very, very, very dark place. And were you surprised, Doug, of how dark they went with Brassius and his depression?
I was surprised, just in terms of you don't expect, because I mean, there's a difference between dark as like, oh, he's broody, he's goth, he's whatever, versus he's broody, he's in a dark place because he's like depressed.
Yeah,
because it's like, you know, this is a kid's show,
but they do go on that fine line in this show, from what it seems like so far.
Yeah,
they walk that line
in the handful of episodes that we've seen. It's like they're not afraid to deal with subjects. I mean, we just left an episode where there's some unspoken tension between Alex and her father, and I feel like it's still not resolved necessarily, because, you know, on a couple different occasions Liko was like, where's mom? And Alex didn't really give a solid answer.
Nope. But so the group arrives over at Brassius's art home, and then out of nowhere they just hear a big shatter. And they hear yelling. They're like, "Oh, what the hell is going on here?" And Brassius is on edge. And Liko as she gets in there, she's kind of all nervous and stuff. And she introduces herself and tells him that she was told to come by from her father. And this makes Brassius happy. And he's like, oh man, he's like, I know about your father. And he's like, if your father sent you here, you're welcome here. And Brassius invites Liko, Roy, and Nemona inside for tea, and they notice his passion for art, and because they see sculptures all around his home. Did you have something to add to that, Doug?
Just that I know about your father. Like that's never necessarily good. It's like why do you know about my father?
Oh,
what does he get up to at night?
I know but at least it makes him like happy. So because I mean you see him go straight from a dark place and he gets happy, but the bags under his eyes are still like really heavy. You could tell this man is not sleeping.
Yeah, this man, he's going through it, and those bags aren't easy to get rid of. Let me tell you.
No, they're not. So, all right. So where were we? Let's see. So he invites them inside, and they all take a look at a lot of his sculptures. And Brassius is, I think the Pokemon's called a Deliv, shoots its oil onto Palmo, and Deliv is so nervous until Sprigatito uses its scent to make it happy, and the elated Deliv shoots more oil at Palmo, and Roy, wanting to stay on topic, why they came here, tells Brassius about the Black Rayquaza, which doesn't thrill him one bit. And why doesn't it thrill him? Because he's seen the Black Rayquaza, right?
He's kind of like, and it's kind of interesting that this didn't happen to a main character, because like usually it's like, oh, Ash, sees this legendary Pokemon and it's going to pop up in like, towards the end of the season. But now you've got this reclusive artist is like, oh yes, I've, laid eyes on the Black Rayquaza, and he eludes me, and that sends me down my spiral,
yep.
And
because Roy brings out his Pokeball, and he was like, yeah, it was inside of this Pokeball. And Brassius is like, he stands up and he heads everyone over to a shattered Black Rayquaza sculpture. And out of the corner of her eye, Liko notices a piece of the Black Rayquaza sculpture, realizing that Brassius is not as happy as he seems. So,
which no shit.
So something her dad has experienced as well, and she resolves to do something that makes Brassius smile. And Roy proposes gathering some flora for him, like the kids were doing earlier, to try to make him happy. And arriving in the Sunflora lawn, Liko, Roy, and Nemona split up to look for all of these Sunflora, and Liko finds two, and Brassius is watching from afar. Liko heads to like a grass field and thinks she sees another one on a cliff, but it's just a sculpture. After seeing Sprigatito relaxing in the sun, Liko goes over and finds another Sunflora in places of sunlight, and using this knowledge, Liko gathers up more Sunflora than Roy and Nemona combined by the time all of the search is over. And Liko is so confident that so many smiling Sunflora will cheer up Brassius, but does it, Doug?
No, and and this whole like montage or whatever, we see Brassius and Dolov are kind of lurking in the shadows, and they finally get like a bunch of them together in this open field, and Dolive marches out and says, "Oh yeah, watch this," and sprays the gunk on Brassius, who's hiding behind a stone column here.
Yeah,
and
because he followed them, and they didn't know that he was following them.
Right. And, Roy's like, well, where are you going? Why are you still pissed off? We gathered all this sunflora, specifically for you because you've obviously got some kind of bug up your butt. and Brassius is like, you know what? Fine. I'll tell you about my experience because otherwise I'm just going to end up being more and more sticky by the end of this episode.
Is this scary place
his studio?
It's Rayquaza!
Wait a second. Is this thing a statue?
Yes, exactly that. This is a unique piece I created entitled Sunflora Glared At by a Black Dragon. I was inspired by a similar work of Alex's, and so I made this.
Really? That's interesting.
I wish to portray the intimidating presence of a black Rayquaza as seen from the viewpoint of a sunflower, and I do think I captured that. But only a few days ago, I had the fortune to encounter it. An actual living, breathing black Rayquaza.
Really? The same one?
It was a magical night. I was taking a stroll through the woods outside town when suddenly a black Rayquaza pierced the night, flying with blazing speed. I was the sunflower under the black dragon's glare. Life was art. I was utterly overwhelmed. I'd never felt so vulnerable. I was transfixed.
And that's when you fell into your slump.
After that, nothing I created felt inspired or brought me joy. I had no desire to battle at my gym, so I retreated into my studio and remained here ever since. Quite simply, I was utterly defeated by the ultimate art of Rayquaza. How could I top that?
Poor Brassius. He's obviously been suffering so much.
That's awesome! Huh? Rayquaza is super awesome! I knew it! Oh man, now I really can't wait to see it again!
I guess you can kind of chalk this up to, do you remember that episode of Pokemon that we did with the Crystal Onyx? And how he just wants to see the black Rayquaza again to get his inspiration back for all of the sculptures that he's doing, and that the other person in the Crystal Onyx episode, he didn't even want to capture the Crystal Onyx. He just wanted to see the Crystal Onyx to get his inspiration back, and that's really what Brassius wants.
Yeah, except he's going about it a little bit more of a dickish way, because he's like, I am an artist, I am brooding, I've got bags under my eyes that I can basically sleep in, they're so big, and he is letting his obsession with the black Rayquaza consume him more, in my opinion, than the fellow with the Crystal Onyx.
Yes. And
because
sorry.
No, I was gonna say I got the feeling, and again I would have to go back and just kind of glance at that episode again. Just in the short dealings that we've had with this episode with Brassius, I don't know if another encounter with the black Rayquaza is going to satiate him. I think it's just going to drive him further, because it's like he knows it's like, it's like, okay, this is going to be my fourth encounter, but how frequent are these encounters going to be? And here's this punk kid who had the Pokeball that had the object of my desire, and he just let it go because he wasn't worthy. And
exactly, and he's like he had it and he threw it out, and now he doesn't have it anymore, and all he has is the Pokeball to show for it. But
what good is him to me? And he's
But after talking with Roy, Brassius is like, you know what? Maybe you can help me get my inspiration back. Roy, I want to Pokemon battle you. And Roy is like, oh, really? Okay, cool. So they immediately jump into an impromptu Pokemon battle. This didn't really mesh with me in this, because why would he want to fight this kid? But Brassius sends out his Sudowoodo, Roy sends out Fuecoco, and Liko tries to warn Roy about Sudowoodo's type, but Roy he's like, you know what? It's a grass type. Fuecoco, use Ember, and it does like little to like no damage. And he's like, wait a minute, what? And Liko is like, that's because Sudowoodo is a rock type, not a grass type. And Brassius commands Sudowoodo to use Rock Throw, which hits Fuecoco really hard.
Should have knocked him out, quite frankly.
I know, and it should have. Sudowoodo uses Rock Throw again, but Fuecoco dodges it before charging at Sudowoodo with a tackle. However, Sudowoodo used its substitute move, which outsmarts Fuecoco again and again and again. And Sudowoodo follows up with which followed up with a taunt, making Fuecoco mad and prompting him to use Ember instead of Tackle, as Roy is commanding. So now Fuecoco's not listening to Roy, and Brassius tells Roy that his focus should be on his own Pokemon instead of finding the real Sudowoodo. And in this rage, Fuecoco stomps on the ground and cracks it underneath his feet. Fuecoco has learned Stomping Tantrum, a brand new Pokemon move, which gets rid of another substitute that's in his way. So Fuecoco follows up with the same move, scoring a super effective hit on the Sudowoodo, and Brassius then goes, you know what? I'm gonna one up you, Roy, because you've never seen anything like this. I'm gonna terrestrialize my Sudowoodo and turn it into a grass type, which I'll explain that to you in just a second, bro. What that terrestrialize does.
That feels like cheating, quite frankly. And I mean, I know you're going to explain it, and it's not, but that just feels like
it kind of is. I'm going to go into it in just a second. And so Sudowoodo is now a grass type Pokemon, and I think what did the subtitles here say? It was calling this piece from the fiction comes true. Roy has Fuecoco use Ember, but Sudowoodo avoids it and hits Fuecoco with a Trailblaze, knocking him out. And then after the battle, Nemona explains how Terra types work for different Pokemon, and that's where I'll stop right here. So terrestrializing, you can turn your Pokemon, so your Pokemon can be like a Charizard, who is a fire type, but you can terrestrialize your Charizard to where he's not a fire type anymore, and he can turn into an ice type, or he can turn into a water type, or you can have a Pikachu who terrestrializes itself into a flying type, who will then grow balloons on his back, and then now it can fly in the air. It's so you can play the game and not know what your opponent is capable of, because you can only use terrestrialize one time during a battle. So you have to pick the Pokemon that you use it on. But when you use it, you can clearly change everything about your Pokemon and make it something else. So it's pretty cool.
So it is a cheat code, but it's only one use, and you better not just waste it.
Yes, you can can use it, like when you terrestrialize, your Pokemon stays terrestrialized for the remainder of that battle unless it's knocked out. Once it's knocked out, you can't use terrestrialize on another Pokemon because you used it on one Pokemon already. So you could have 6 in your party, only one of them can terrestrialize, but you got to be careful which one you pick during that battle.
Okay, well that's kind of like the ultimate ace in a hole.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of like that.
So Brassius congratulates Roy on a great battle before sharing another sculpture at his house. And give me 1 second. I gotta get the subtitle on the name of this sculpture. Arbovia of the woods. And Albovia's forest is where he saw the black Rayquaza, and then Albrovia resonates with the legendary Pokemon. And Liko notices something about the sculpture before her and Roy return over to the ship and to share what they found out. And then Liko tells Roy that the sculpture Brassius showed them gave off a sad vibe. And then meanwhile, in a dark forest, a shadowy Abravia walks through, which is going to prompt us for the next episode, because that's actually where they're headed next, which that in itself is a 2-parter episode.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So that brings us over to the next episode, but we will not go in depth into that yet. Bro, what do you give these 2 episodes? Are you going to combine your voting, or are you going to give them each its own ranking this week?
You know what? And usually I would say, well, we covered them, so I'm going to combine them, but I'm actually going to separate them because I really didn't care for the first episode. I mean, because it kind of just felt like paint by numbers shit.
Yeah.
So, like, and you might say this is harsh. I feel like you always kind of raise an eyebrow when I do this, but I'm going to give the first episode a 2.5.
Okay. No, you're perfectly fine with that, bro.
But I really liked the second episode. I liked the explanation of the for goodness sakes, I just completely lost
terrestrial eyes.
I like that. I like. I didn't think I would like Brassius as a character as much, but I really did kind of. Yeah, I identified with.
You feel for him after kind of watching it a second time, right?
Yeah, and the battle between Sudowoodo and Fuecoco was pretty cool. Once again, Roy falls ass backwards into Fuecoco, learning a new attack. Yeah, and I mean, I did enjoy the little, like, the PowerPoint presentation that Nemona kind of gave.
Yeah.
And, the cliffhanger at the very end of the episode. I'm going to give the second episode 4.
Nice. I'm going to give the first one a 3, and then I'm going to meet you right there with a 4 for the second one, because they gave a lot of detail. We did get to meet her father, and we find out that their relationship might not, I mean, I guess you can say their relationship is good, but maybe the dad just has a hard time letting go of Liko. Because they were so close, and I kind of feel like there's a lot more that we're going to end up learning about their relationship later on. So yeah, I'll give the first one a 3. I'll give that second one a 4, and I'll meet you because I liked all of your thoughts on why you gave it a 4. So, but all right, what's up?
Well, no, I was gonna say I'm intrigued enough. I'm gonna do some research off mic. I want to know more about terrestrializing.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Let's do that. So we're gonna end it here, guys. We're gonna end it with the Pokemon code segment, and I do got a Paradox Rift, 2 Paradox Rift codes here for you. Again, this is first come, first serve. So these codes are as follows: 6BX CXJL WXVQ7Q. Second code 6CR2RLG DW9NQL. And those are your codes for this week. And just a little housekeeping. If you are not subscribed to us and you're listening to us on anything but Spotify, please do us the favor and subscribe to us on Spotify, because they help keep the lights on here, and they help keep everything rolling for everything that you hear on a weekly basis here on this podcast. And if you do have that little extra coin that you can go ahead and throw our way. Go ahead and subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/everypokemon, where you can either be a part of this show or you can listen to our episodes in advance, everyone, and they're ad-free. So I know how heavy ads can be on Spotify, and we are not against them. But if you would like to listen to your podcast the way that we intend for you to listen to them, go ahead and subscribe, because pretty soon we will be getting out our summer movie, which is probably going to be at the end of the summer. So your end of summer movie, which will be Pokemon Forever, and you will get an advanced copy of the Pokemon Adventures audio drama in its entirety as soon as we are finished and we are releasing it. Anything else to add to that, bro?
Absolutely not. It's more than worth your money. We've got a lot of good content behind the Patreon.
Yes.
Some of the most enjoyable episodes I've recorded are behind that Patreon. I really enjoy doing the movies when we do them. So yeah, throw us a little bit if you've got it. Because I think I think all the content behind there is more than worth your time.
Absolutely. So that being said, we're going to get on out of here, everybody, but I do want to do a little housekeeping. Next week, we do have a special guest coming with us, and we will be going over the next 2 episodes of Pokemon Horizons with Grant. Everybody, he is returning back over to the podcast as a premium Patreon subscriber, so we will welcome him next week. But besides that, Doug, go ahead and give your goodbye, Doug.
Goodbye, Doug.
And this is Professor Chris G telling all of you that we will be back next week with a brand new episode. So have a good night, everybody.